Hi everybody, welcome back to Sticks and Stones. Sorry I haven't been here all week. My son's been sick, but today we take a baseball bat and we are going to try and cut it into threes, and we're going to make some Santa Clauses. I'll probably only get to one Santa Claus for the video, but this is a way I can show you how to make three out of one baseball bat. And this is pretty beat up, but we'll see what we can come up with. I believe this one's a hickory bat. It's going to be a tough carve. So here I took my chainsaw. You can do this on the bandsaw too. And I just cut it into three pieces. Okay. Now it's got the old sealer on it, and probably linseed oil, or who knows what they sealed it with. But this is pretty hard stuff. It's going to be a tough carve. We're not going to make too fancy of a Santa. We'll just paint them nice and festive like. And but you can make three different Santas. You can stand this one up, or you can cut them any way you want. You can cut them into points with your chainsaw. I did quick draw a Santa on the biggest one, and I'm going to take my Typhoon bit here and start carving this guy out. This is pretty much an idea video. Alright, I'm probably going to use a lot of Dremel bits. This right here is my Typhoon bit, and I'm going to see just how much I can get off. This is pretty tough stuff. Sometimes you can get a nice ash bat and it'll carve really nice with the Cutzall bits and the Cutzall Extreme Flame Burr, for instance. This right here, my Typhoon's pretty worn. So I'm just outlining this, and I got to take all this varnish or whatever the hell is on this bat off. I did actually tape me drawing the Santa on this, but apparently it didn't tape and the file was corrupt, so we're just going to wing it, and I'll just keep making the video anyway because we got things to do. We got a big contest coming up. I am going to be putting a video on showing the prizes after this one. I think we're up to 10 or 11 prizes actually. There's over 40 something people, maybe 50 entered. It's going to be a good time. That's going off on the 21st. Well, actually, sorry, the 22nd. That's going to be done. As far as you being able to submit. If you do need the email again to submit a little carving, you want to put your date and your name on it. Make sure it was carved this year. Okay. And submit it to Sticks and Stones Carvings at gmail.com. And I'll get that entry, and I'll take your name and I'll put it in the hat, and on the 22nd, when we do the drawing at 8 p.m., you have a chance to win one of the prizes that I'll show in the next video. Now this right here, I'm just kind of outlining him again. I really wanted to show how simple it was. It's a pretty simple Santa. He's probably not going to come out the best. I don't really have the paints or the setup, and I'm kind of rushing through this. But I wanted to get one more Santa video on before the holiday, and like I said, from doing it on a baseball bat, if you're out of wood, like I am at the moment, I have to order some wood, I just kind of use what I got laying around in my shop. And I always have an extra baseball bat or two laying around. So I'm going to make some Santas out of that for this year. This right here is just a sanding drum. And I'm clearing some of that varnish off or whatever's on that bat. Very old bat. He's beat up. I mean, I could go all around the bat. You want to make this really nice, you can go and really sand this whole thing down. Get all the crappy parts of the bat off. Take a little bit out of the underneath the mustache and everything with the sanding drum. Sometimes when it's a little too hard, I'll go to a sanding drum instead of trying to cut through with some of the bigger bits, and then see how much I can actually clean it up. But it's a pretty simple face. I'm just putting two slits for eyes. I'm not even digging the nose in real far or anything. I just kind of put a little simple nose on it, and we'll use some paint to dress him up, and we'll have a quick little Santa. And I'll show you an idea we can use when we're done painting it. What I like to do with stuff like this is I'll usually drill a big hole in the top. I'll cut it down to the size I want. Sometimes I'll carve drips on the top, and I'll make it a candle holder, which is probably what I'll end up doing with this guy. Now I'm going to the Cutzall Extreme Flame Burr here, see if I can get a little bit more of this wood down, because he's definitely a tough carve. I do recommend trying to get an ash bat. That'll carve a lot better than hickory. Hickory's kind of splintery and splitty, and it's Very hard stuff. Ash is hard, but it carves a lot nicer. And I'm trying to use the tip of the cut saw here to try and outline them cheeks a little bit better and try and get some more of this more nasty wood off, I guess you could call it. Because the deeper I go into the bat, a lot of that varnish and stuff will come off. And the sealer, from years and years of just being caked on there and just sitting there, this stuff's into the wood pretty good. So the more I get off, the better the wood will start get to carve, you know. So I'm just going to start running some lines with the cuts all here, and I'll see if I can break it up some, and then I'll try to carve deeper as I go. But for right now, again, just trying to outline everything and get the kind of design that I want, and kind of set my boundaries for my beard and everything, and I'll try to clear some of the wood that's not that great off of it after I do that. And I just keep shaping them with the bit. I think we've carved enough of these in detail. I'll start going through more detailed carvings and teaching after the holidays. Right now, this is just another holiday idea. You can carve any kind of face you want on it and make a couple of quick candle holders. And I'll show you at the end of the video how I would do that. Okay, make it simple and quick, and anybody can do it. Let's see if we can get some more of this off with the cut saw and start setting the boundaries for our beard. I'm just kind of, see, I'm just tapping it on the bottom there and making like the finishing touches for the circumference of the beard that's going around. I'm just kind of setting my stop angle for that beard by just doing that. And that way when I put some paint in there, it'll give a stop point for where the beard's going to be. And again, trying to frame that face a little bit better and trying to get some of the wood that isn't the best off. I'll take some other small Dremel bits and everything, and we'll try to get some of these grooves in the beard a little bit deeper. We'll undercut in places, and you know, just enough to detail them up to hold some paint when we put the paint on, and then we'll get a little bit more shadow in the beard and everything. It's going to be a quick carve, like I said. It's not really a teaching video, so. But you'll get the idea how quick you can just actually use anything that you got laying around. I've actually had candle holders that I bought in the dollar store and just carve Santas on them. Carve right through the varnish and everything. Just make sure you got a mask on and a good dust collector. And I'll try to dig in some more lines. Not following any kind of particular pattern, just trying to keep it uniform all the way around. And still trying to get some of that varnish off this wood. Oh, jeez. Some of these bats can be brutal. And right here, I'll deepen some of those in spots. Undercut them on one side, and then I'll go to the other side and do the same thing. Because the more valleys and highs and lows I have when I paint, you know, it'll make them look a little bit more interesting, and the hair will look a little more natural. So just random lines here. Going over top of the lines I already cut, breaking some of them up, deepening others, and cleaning everything off. Not really too worried about it because, like I said, we're just going to throw some quick paint on it. Now, I can use the tip of this bit and just kind of poke some little divots in the fur. We're not carving a big hat on him because we want to keep him round at the top, because we're going to drill a big hole for a tea light, basically, is what we're going to put in this guy. That way it'll keep it simple, but that'll break up the hat and make it look a little bit more like fur when we actually paint it. And we'll reinforce that line underneath. Okay, let's see. This right here is a Dremel ball. It's a smaller one. I don't exactly know the size. I'm not really going to put the sizes of these bits in this video. We'll go through those in other videos, and I'll really go into detail and explain each one. But you can just check out my Amazon store if you want to pick up any of these bits. Go looking around in there. You'll find Dremel bits, and you'll find links where you can find all kinds of stuff that we use in these videos. Or you can just go to hardware store and look through the Dremel section, and you'll find this stuff that I'm using as far as Dremel goes. Some of these Dremel bits are going to be tough on the hardwood, and others are going to work really well. Right? But sometimes you want something just a little bit smaller than one of the big carving bits. So I'll resort to some of the Dremel bits a lot of times and use what I got in my box. I'm going to use the shape of this ball to actually put two little slits for his eyes. And because the ball is round, I can actually come in here and get kind of an upper lid in there. And then I'll keep reinforcing those bottom lines, and those will be his eyes. And on the top, that will be his eyelid. And we'll just kind of smooth that around. Yeah, you can see it's a tough carve on this hickory. It's actually burning. The bit's burning, but we're not really caring about that either. As long as it's working for what I'm looking for, I'm okay with that. We'll clean it off a little as we go. We got a little lip shaped in here. We'll try and make sure we can get that mustache curled up a little bit so he's a happy little guy. And I'll even use this bit to put the divots in the hat over the bigger ones we use the cut saw for. Anything to break it up, and then once we add paint and we clean up a little bit with our knife and hand tools or whatever, we'll have plenty of fur, and that'll be broken up nice enough that it'll definitely look like the fur on his hat a lot more than just leaving it one band of uncarved wood, going across the top of his head. Kind of rounding them cheeks a little bit at the top. It won't look too bad. This right here is another Dremel bit. It's just a little cylinder bit. Like I said, you can find them pretty easy in the hardware store. You can check out the Amazon store at the link below. We'll have all kinds of little things we can do with this. You use this on its side, and it'll put very fine lines. And I can refine his lip a little bit with it. Like I said, I will put the numbers to these in other videos. Maybe I'll just do a video on Dremel bits or other bits you can use besides some of the big carving bits like the Cutsaws and saber tooths. Anything that helps you achieve the kind of look that you're going for, or you need a couple of different types of cuts that aren't so extreme, and you need a little finer detail. Sometimes I will go to Dremel bits. Can't really knock them if they work for the purpose that you're looking for anyway. Like right in here, I can actually deepen those little eye slots and get under the eyebrows a little with it. Notice I really am not doing much with the nose. Right here I'm going to kind of reinforce the cheeks by holding it upside down, and that right there will kind of round them off a little bit better. And I can separate the hair. That's important when you're doing a face, right up here at the top. Where the forehead and where the hair and the hat meet. A couple wrinkles in the top there. Definitely want to separate the hair from the forehead, okay? And you want to make sure that where it's coming from under the hat, you have a nice separation there. And we'll see if we can actually get a couple of extra little hair lines with this very fine bit. Running it through some of the lines we already had. This works good for undercutting in a couple of spots. Just to make a couple of pieces stand out a little bit more when we paint. And to put a stop point where we're going to start to paint. See, it doesn't really show too much in the video, but I'm putting some smaller fine lines in some of this hair. Just not really being too particular about it. Like I said, still got some bad wood there, but I'm going to sand it down and paint it, and what we get, I'm fast forwarding through a lot of this stuff. We have some very fine lines in the mustache. That'll be good enough. We'll sand it down. I don't really have the colors I want. I don't want to spend a lot of time mixing paint today, so his face is probably going to look pretty pink. But you can paint him any way you want, and I'll show you. We'll dress them up real quick with some of the techniques we used in the other videos. And we'll see if we can make them look pretty decent for Christmas. I'm going to sand them down here and get some of that stuff off. Still have a lot. Now I could sand this whole thing down with the Dremel and a sanding drum, which I recommend to do if you really want to make it nice and get all that varnish off. And let's see if we can run a V-tool through here and deepen those eyelids a little bit. Make sure they stand out at least a little, because we want kind of like a closed-eyed, winky type Santa Claus for this guy. We'll put a couple little detail marks. And again, reinforcing those cheeks and up in the nose. Again, the nose, haven't slanted the nose much. I just kind of brought it down in between the eyes and left it there. And what we get for this carving. If I want, I can take my knife out and do a little bit of cleanup. I'll separate the hair from the sides of the face with my knife. I'll reinforce those eyelids a little bit. Whatever you gotta use, you use. Nothing's drilled in stone. Use what tools you got to get whatever kind of effect you're looking for. And like I said, after Christmas, we'll get back into some really detailed teaching, and any questions you guys have, we'll make a couple of really nice wood spirits. We'll try anyway. And we'll try to add some different techniques and some real good instruction on how to get a lot of detail. Now right here, like I said, you really want to separate the hair from the hat and the face. So I recommend doing a V-cut there. And then make sure that separates right here, because that hair is definitely separate from the face and it's coming out from underneath the hat. So that's an important cut right there. And I like to do that with my knife after I have the face carved. Should be a little thinner at the top, and as it comes down it gets wider. Kind of teardrop it down. Let's see if we can maybe take a little bit of out from under the nose here with a little V-cut. Take a chip out of there and make the nose stand out just enough so when we paint it, we can put a little shading under there, whatever we want. We're not putting nostrils and all kinds of details there. I might even just paint the wings of the nose instead of actually carving them. I'll just put a little quick line with a toothpick or something in black around it, and we'll make him look like he's got more of a nose than he actually does. Sometimes things are about optical illusions with paint. You can insinuate things without really carving them, and you'll come up with a decent enough carving that when people look at it, you go, oh yeah, that's Santa. You know, doesn't have to be super fancy. We do have to clean up over here a little bit. I wonder if it's pretty hard to use a V-tool on. Oh man, this wood is a tough one. I might have to go back to the knife for this. And yes, you can carve hardwoods with your knives. And sometimes it's just enough to run a stop cut through and take just enough wood out so you'll get that hard line you're looking for, like right here, and that'll be good enough, you know, and then clean it up enough and give it enough shadow so you're ready for the next step. So this is how we came up with him. He's still pretty beat up. I could take all that varnish off. I could sand him down really nice and clean up the whole thing. I'm not going to go too crazy with it because, like I said, this is just going to be a quick video for one more thing to do. I would cut him down. He's too long up in here, and right here at the top is where we're going to drill a hole, but I'd make that a lot shorter and make sure it's nice and flat. So let's see what we'd do with paint. Right here, I threw some paint on him. I know his face is very pink, but I would get some flesh color and then I would just rose those cheeks up. I'm not going to go through the full process of the paint job here. And like I said, I would cut him down a lot smaller. He's a little too high for me up here, but I'd cut it down, make it flat, and then I would take a big spade bit like this, and I would make sure it was just big enough that it would just run on the inside. You don't want it to be oversized, you know, bigger than this at the top. So I'd cut that down a little bit more till it's a little wider. Then I'd just drill a hole down in there, enough to hold a tea light. And you just put your tea light right in the hole, and you light it, and you get a nice little candle holder. So that's a quickie. That's what I did with this guy. To dress him up, I just painted some different color dots. You know, 3 at a time. Put some white, put some yellow to give it a little color. Added a little shading by dry brushing just a little bit of black very lightly around, you know, the eyebrows and his beard and his hair. I could mess with this and paint, but like I said, for this video, this will be good. And now you have another Santa Claus. And that was the purpose of this. So that's what we came up with. Make yourself a nice little tea holder, or tea light holder. And you got 3 of them now out of the baseball bat. You could do all 3. Okay? Now, make sure you watch for the next video. We're going to show the prizes to the contest, and I'll see you in the next one.